1, 2, 1, 2. Hi, you're with Scott. We're just doing the sound check, making sure everything's working, connecting to chat. Hi, you're with Scott. We're just doing the sound check, making sure everything's working, connecting to chat. Yeah, I think you can hear that. Yeah, I think you can hear that. Okay. We don't want Chinese food to take away, do we? Want that to start with. Just have a little sip on the old tea. My gosh, I've been feeling nervous before I started today's stream. Been feeling nervous. Strange, I don't usually feel nervous for doing stream, but I have been today for doing this. Not because of the topic, just because anxiety, isn't it? You know, anxiety. Leaning down into the mic, so I might just push the mic up a bit. You'll be able to see it in the picture, but that's alright, because... Whoa, the lamp nearly went then. You know that I'm talking on a mic, so it's okay that you can see it. Good start, so just bear with me while I pick that up. Come on, you bugger. That's right, right in my eyes. Let's pop you back up there. And we're back. Nice and calm, nice and relaxing, because we're going to edit this for fans of true binaural and ASMR. And pop on the true binaural and ASMR headphones, and we'll do the intro. We'll start the intro. Hi, you're with Scott. Let's do the big face for the intro. Hi, you got me? And we'll do this as well. Get this out of the way. Oh, I see we're dropping frames already. The stream is a messy nightmare already. This is a problem. This is a problem. We did have issues on stream. We did have issues with the upload, download. I don't know. There's something wrong with my internet. So I've set this stream. You can still hear me. I've set this stream to a setting where it will reduce the quality of the image, but carry on streaming. The other setting was drop stream. So dropping stream is not ideal, but nor is this dropping quality. I do apologise. I'm not sure it's something I have control over. I can see that we've got a low quality of kilobytes a second here. We did have this issue earlier in the week, and other people in my area have reported poor internet quality. So now I have a choice. Do I just push on? Do we change the settings and try and make it work with different settings? Well, we've got it. Let's just do this. Right, I've done that. Seems to be working again. We seem to be back on. And we're doing mental health. I didn't even do the introduction, did I? Didn't even get the introduction out. So let's attempt. I can see this is going to be tough. What do you do to fix that? It's a low bit rate. OBS is pushing through a low bit rate. It's going up sometimes. It wants to be up. It wants to be high, doesn't it? It wants to be up. The lows and highs of running Mental Health Monday. Every time I start to talk, I can see it goes down. It's distracting me. It's difficult. So what we're going to do is I'm going to push on. I'm going to do the stream. I think you can hear me the whole time. I'm going to do the stream. I think you can hear me the whole time. And that's the main thing. Although we will be trying to watch some videos together today, so that might be difficult as well. I'm going to just push on. We're just going to try it. If it doesn't go so well, we can always redo this episode in the future. And today's episode is about schizophrenia. I've got my notes somewhere. My notes. So in today's stream, we are talking about... We haven't even done the introduction. Hi, you're with Scott. Hi, you're with Scott. My hood just fell down. It's not ideal, is it? Hi, you're with Scott. This is Mental Health Monday on our live stream, edited for True Binaural and ASMR. It's midnight. It's always midnight. This is your right ear and your left ear. Okay, we've done the intro. We've got that done. That can go in the edit. And as I say, if this doesn't work out so well, then we'll just try again. I will endeavour this week to learn what's going on with the upload and download speeds, whatever it is that's causing the problem, and I will fix it. Or if I can fix it, I'll fix it. That on my worry tree, the worry tree we did, schedule that. I'm not doing it now because we're doing a stream now. I'm not going to destroy this in favour of that. I think we'll just push ahead. And tomorrow we'll schedule technical learning fixing. Okay? Fair play. In today's stream, we're talking about schizophrenia, as we had a request on our YouTube comments. Patrick, hi. Next week, we're going to talk about bedtime and how to sleep. You can always interrupt this planned broadcast in chat. If you're struggling with something, you can always just bring it up and we can stop whatever we're planning doing and we can just talk about your thing. That's never a problem. Never a problem. I'm not an expert at following chat and reading my notes at the same time. My notes are just over there. That's chat I'm pointing at. But on my world, on my end, that's my notes. So apologies if I miss something. Edits are going on True Binaural and ASMR, so I assume that you're okay with this. You can request for your name to be removed from chat if you don't want it to be on the True Binaural and ASMR, whatever. But this is a public forum, so by bringing your ideas to the public forum, I assume that you understand that they're out there in the world. But don't feel you have to do anything. Just being here is important, and sharing the work's great. So just being here and sharing this is fantastic. So I'm happy with that. We've got some pre-roll notes, and our pre-roll notes are about Patreon. I don't go on about the money and things like that very often, but I've written this little bit and we're going to do it. Okay, we're going to do a proper video about it in the future, but I just have to say this first. I've got some new patrons, old new patrons, friends, people who I recognise from this stream who are now supporting me through Patreon. There goes the hood again, so we're just going to bin the hood off. It's absolutely huge. Like, to me, the support that I've already got from you is absolutely huge. It means that I can work towards making this stream sustainable. So it means an awful lot to me. It's important that I say as well that everyone who's always or ever helped, whether it be from back in the road trip days or other people on Patreon in the past, all the support has always meant an awful lot to me. And even small donations have got me through dark times, because the the concept, the idea that someone out there is supporting me, even in small ways, it meant a lot. So that's always been important to me. What it means has been important to me, what it means. Patreon will undergo a few changes. I froze new patron lower levels because we need to review the sustainability. If we've got 50 people giving $1 each, that's absolutely amazing and massive to me. And it makes me feel like I should work full time on this thing. It makes me so deeply obligated that I feel I should be producing lots of content all the time. But the problem with it is that then I put in all those hours, and you can't do all that for just $50 a month. The obligation and the size of what it means to me, it is so much bigger than the money. And I'm not into I'm not about the money, but what it means is I end up having to do a full-time job for not much money, and I feel obligated to do it. So it's not sustainable. It doesn't work out in the long run. Good ASMR that with the old coughing. But the hours I want to put in, the thing I want to do, is to put in the full-time hours. Let's see my face a bit. I'm moving that. Yeah, I do want to put in the full-time hours. I am enjoying doing this streaming and Mental Health Mondays, the art, the culture, all that. I think it's good. I'm enjoying it. So I do want to do this. But I just can't do it for like $50 a month. So if I did this and then got another job, then I wouldn't be able to do this, like the full-time way that I hope we can. And I need to be able to eat, basically. I don't need to be Jake Paul and have a Lamborghini or whatever. I just need to be able to eat. And I eat cheap because I'm vegan and I've got an allotment. But I don't want to be forced to do something else for money and to not be able to make content. So I want to do this with you. I'm prepared to accept and say that, I want to do this with you. Accept it in the way that I'm going to continue to try and pursue this. And before, we'll come on to this in my notes in a bit, but I haven't felt that, how do I explain this? Talking to my therapist, we came to the conclusion that I didn't value myself in certain contexts. Like, as a hairdresser, I wouldn't let you sit in my chair for less than £40 an hour because my time was valuable. But as a human being making this content, I felt that people should just have it all for free. And I still feel you should get it for free. But I didn't value, I saw my value as $1, bringing a little hat round, like the busker at the end of the, out on the street playing his guitar with his little hat out. That's where I pitched my value to myself. But I feel maybe we can aim a little higher than that now. I could just looking at my notes again, sorry. I'm going to continue to try and pursue making films for charities as income. Before COVID, I was trying to build a business where I make small videos, like, you know what videos are, small videos. I don't have to explain the concept, but I only wanted to do it. I only wanted to do it for businesses I felt were ethical, so mainly charities. And the problem with that was that I didn't really feel like asking them for money. Again, the value concept. And because of COVID, I haven't worked for over a year, so I'm reassessing what we want to do. And so I do still want to continue to try and pursue making films for charities, making longer form content in the future. But I definitely want to do this with you. I definitely want to do this. We've written here in the notes that I don't really ascribe a high value to myself, which is part of depression. So I find it hard to ascribe value to my work. And I want to make it free for everyone. And, I don't want to ask everyone for money. As far as monetization goes, I dislike adverts intensely. I never wanted to have them associated with my work. Of course, I'm on YouTube, so there's a conflict of interests there. I didn't used to monetize, but recently YouTube has changed things. Now, if you don't monetize, YouTube will not suggest your videos, but they will also put adverts on your videos, even if you don't monetize them. So I'm forced now to monetize because YouTube is going to do it anyway. And by monetizing my content, it means that I can turn off the adverts, like the ones that go on in the middle of it. YouTube's still going to put them on at the start and the end regardless, but I can turn them off in my settings, and I can choose which kinds of advertisers are allowed on the content. So at least I have some control now. It's not just any old thing. And a lot of the advertising, I said, no, I don't think that's acceptable for my audience. A lot of different things. But my videos are now monetized. That's only like $20 a month, if that. That's a good month. So I'm not making YouTube money. My channel's got multiple issues. Like, we had trolling in the past, and I've had all these dislikes, all these views that are not views, people saying mean things. It hasn't helped the channel in the long run in its discoverability. And there's another aspect, because we make kind of long form content. My perfect video on true binaural and ASMR would probably put you to sleep. But YouTube doesn't like that. YouTube thinks that somebody who turns off YouTube because of your video, that's bad. They want you to watch another video. So there are logarithms that harm the channel in the way I want the channel to work. So I'm not looking to become hugely successful on YouTube to play the logarithmic game. I'm not going to make 10-minute short pop culture content. It's just not going to happen. So for the ASMR to move forward, we need to deal with this sustainability issue first. So I don't get money from advertising, and my channel's not going to grow and become massive. And that's the sustainability issue. That's what it is. But I'm really sure that you're aware of who you are. But I want to say these special thank yous. First of all, I want to thank the people who supported me before all this new streaming. People who have been around for a long time watching my videos. And you all know who you are. You're in the comments. You've been in the comments for a long time. But some people like Nathan, Lisa, Adam, the Menosaur, Perilous Gord, Nick, Tree, Ingrid. There's a longer list than this, and I can't keep reading it, but I just want you to know that it's important that I recognise your support over the years, and it helped get me through some dark times. So it's been really important, and I thank you. Not for the the financial value of the money, but what it meant to me to support me. I thank you for that. Yeah. I've written here, some of your donations have been massive and helped me to make a film. The smaller contributions have been hugely valuable to me in terms of their symbology. It meant a lot to me. We can still be hugely grateful for smaller contributions on this stream. I think Buy Me a Coffee might be a place. We'll look at it another time when I'm doing my, look at how to support me things. But at the moment, I'm just saying my thank yous. So, you can buy my t-shirt or send Twitch bits in the future, or little things like that will still be massively important to me, what they symbolise. The landscape has shifted since I started making content, and Twitch allows us even more chance to make this sustainability thing happen together in a socially healthy way. And so today I've got 5 Puko Ganji warriors, 5 patrons, who will be receiving an email this week to say thank you. And I'm going to ask them how I want them to be named publicly. I don't think I should just name them, just put their names up every video in case they don't want me to put their names up. So I'm going to ask them first, do you want to put an alias, or what kind of title would you like? And then we'll put the names up at the end of the videos, of course, and maybe the start, maybe on the wall, because I feel already like writing legends on the wall and putting these people and what they mean, up on this wall. Because it's helped me, mentally to get through and to believe in myself and what we're doing here together. And all former patrons will expect a similar email to say thank you. At present, there's only one tier of membership available in the patron at the moment now, because I've frozen the smaller tiers, because like I say, we need to think about the sustainability and what we're going to offer and what it's going to be. I'm awful at suggesting rewards and things like that. So maybe you can help with that. Maybe we'll do it together. We'll do it together in the future. But at the moment, I've just frozen the smaller tiers. And of course, we're driving towards Twitch affiliate, which maybe I should have said right at the start. How are we doing? I'm just going to check that we're still rolling and that you can hear me. How are we doing? I'm just going to check that. Yep, you can hear me. We're still rolling. So we will get on to mental health support in a little minute after my pre-roll notes. But I did have to say thank you. So it is important I say thank you. Not like in a sort of, oh, there's a donation, oh, thanks to so-and-so for your sub. But in a really, from the heart, what I mean. Not just like an instinct, oh, there's a thing, but what I mean. What I care to say, what I mean. So we're driving towards Twitch affiliate. We just need 6 more followers, and then we've hit the target. Before we sign up to affiliate, we will experiment with YouTube, because I could stream on True Binaural and ASMR, so we will try that. And affiliate is a exclusivity deal, so I won't be able to do it if I sign up to it. So we'll experiment with streaming on YouTube, but affiliate is something we're looking to unlock, because it will unlock new things like overlays, chat points. I don't know what chat points are. I believe that they're something that you can earn from your interaction in chat, so that's interesting. And of course, bits and subs. Our big goal is a new PC, so I can run Windows and use normal programs. At the moment, so much of what you see on stream doesn't work on my Mac. So much of what you see on other streams doesn't work on my Clockwork Mac. I can't use the audio interface to plug my microphones in. I can't use the ASMR microphones. So a new computer is going to solve a lot of these problems and improve the quality of our stream. So that's our current goal. And I'm saving my own money towards that. And of course, now I'm also including the contributions from my Puko Warriors. So it's going to get us there faster. And I'm absolutely, I feel like an Oscar winner. I know I now understand why they want to stand there and give a big speech with their award. Because, I'm absolutely grateful. With donations, Twitch takes half of everything. And it's all a bit random. So I think Patreon will be the place for our longer term sustainability. I've written here, if you've got any ideas for rewards, then let me know. If you've got any ideas, then let me know. And we'll talk about all this later. But I won't have to go over it again, because I'll edit this and we'll stick it out there. But really, I just wanted to say thank you. And I'm going to send an email to the patrons to say that. So that's my thank yous, that's my pre-roll. Has the stream been going all right? Can we stream? So that's my thank yous, that's my pre-roll. Has the stream been going all right? Can we stream? I mean, it looks a bit murky, doesn't it? It looks a bit, it's in and out, isn't it? It's in and out. I think we'll have to go for it, won't we? We'll go for it. We'll go for it. Let's talk. Let's open up all my windows instead of the one that I want, so that I can't see anything. Here we are. No. Yes. This is it. Okay, so what I should have done for that entire conversation is gone to browsing, and then you can see the Patreon page as is now. I've written all that stuff in a manifesto. This stuff about how I see things, not wanting to use you as a market, not building a community to market to. So I'm not going to try and gain some sort of... I don't think the idea of building a community to sell products to is healthy or sustainable. I think marketing companies want people to build up a community who trust them so they can abuse that trust and sell products. And I think abusing the trust invalidates it. So I'm not going to try and become a mass market, mainstream, popular streamer to sell products. I'm just here to try and help with ideas. That's what I've written there. God, reading it out, it sounds a bit heavy, doesn't it? Maybe I should adjust it, but it's all there, and we'll look at it again together another time. That's that. Let's close that now. We're talking about schizophrenia today. That's what we're doing. We've got a couple of videos from Mind Mind is a mental health resource, and if you're struggling, I should have said this at the start, I should know we're 20 minutes in now. If you're struggling with anything mental health related and you want further help than I can offer, then Mind is a great place to go. They've got videos, they've got a website. If you're struggling and you want to talk to somebody, then the Samaritans is a great option. Their details will be in the description below, but at the moment they're just on the screen. So that makes sense. I wonder if this is going to work. We're going to play this and we're going to cross our fingers that you can hear it and you can watch it. We're going to play it for a minute or so, then we're going to do some talking together.
With a diagnosis like schizophrenia, you feel that it's a sort of, it becomes sort of, it becomes a label, that, whereas it's more of an experience. So, but if people could understand what the experience is actually in reality, and also, and actually how people deal with it every day, I think it would be less of a stigma, but also people would be less frightened to talk to us if we're unwell or whatever, or look out for each other or whatever.
I think if people knew what the symptoms of psychosis were, when they started to get those really strange ideas and thoughts, they'd think, oh well, like, you know, if you're getting a cold, you start to sneeze. Okay, so this is psychosis, I better go and get help. And
Okay, I'll pause that then. It's just absolutely not been watchable, has it, for you? Okay, I'll pause that then. It's just absolutely not been watchable, has it, for you? I'll try it one more time. Okay, I'll pause that then. It's just absolutely not been watchable.
With a diagnosis like schizophrenia, you feel that it's a sort of, it becomes sort of, it becomes a label, that, whereas it's more of an experience. So, but if people could understand what the experience is actually in reality, and also, and actually how people deal with it every day, I think it would be less of a stigma, but also people would be less frightened to talk to us if we're unwell or whatever, or look out for each other or whatever.
I think if people knew what the symptoms of psychosis were, when they started to get those really strange ideas and thoughts, they'd think, oh well, like, you know, if you're getting a cold, you start to sneeze. Okay, so this is psychosis, I better go and get help. And there wouldn't be that fear.
So convinced.
Okay, so I'm just going to pause that there. I know this is difficult viewing because it's just terrible quality and it's dropping in and out, isn't it? And it's not something that we've suffered with on stream before. So I can't say it's something that I've changed at my end. I think it's something to do with the internet provider. I think it's something to do with the, you know, the internet at the moment. And it's really disappointing, but we're going to push on. I will edit this. You will get to see the things that are being shown in the edit. So don't worry about that. But if you have problems, you can find this video, Mind, the mental health charity, Schizophrenia talking about mental health, and watch it yourself. So there's never a problem. We can sort this. We can move through it. I need my notes back. So our aims, as described by these people who suffer from schizophrenia, our aims today are to educate and inform in general. So if you or someone you know suffers with schizophrenia, we can feel that we know what's happening and how to help. We want to be able to describe accurately the onset of symptoms, like a sneeze, so we can recognise them and offer the right support. We also want to be able to understand and recognise schizophrenia, so we can reduce the stigma around it. We want to be able to offer the right next step support and not be afraid of people who are suffering with schizophrenia. They're our goals for today. So can we describe it so it can be recognised? Let's carry on with the video for another minute.
When it's in your own head, it just, however sort of silly it is, you just, I mean, like, I was just convinced that I was telepathic, sort of there was somebody from a secret telepathic society giving me phone numbers and saying, "Oh, Martin, you're a powerful telepathic," and I was going to the phone box and phoning them up and thinking, "Oh, that's strange. I must have got that wrong."
Did you think the television? Did you have a thing with the television? Like you thought the television was talking to you?
I've had
Yeah.
that. Really strange.
Got that wrong.
I remember staying up all night listening to the radio, just listening to it, because it was just really bizarre. The whole world had sort of shifted round, and it was absolutely. I mean, the stuff that was coming out of there was really terrifying. But it was like being awake and dreaming at the same time, so that you're wandering around in a sort of dream. But it's sort of it's like talking, all those voices and stuff from that.
When I went for that thing, I was told by my psychiatrist, Brian, it's mistaken beliefs. Were you ever told that, mistaken beliefs? When you have a belief which is not, like a TV talking to you or something. I was like, no, Brian, that didn't happen. You're mistaken. It wasn't real.
But it did actually happen to you. That's the thing, isn't it? So when people are saying it's not real, well, it is real to you at the time.
You know,
So there we've got some examples, some quite descriptive examples of schizophrenia. We've also got some websites here. This is the NHS, National Health Service, and they're going to describe the symptoms. We're going to talk about it together. Got something in my eye, but you can't see that because the screen's all messy. Don't worry about the poor quality of the image, because the quality of what we're going to do together today is going to be high, and you can still hear it. And I'm going to drop in. Look, here we are. You can see me. I think 100 years ago, you wouldn't have been able to see me at all. This would have all been magic. So you'd have been pretty chuffed by it. So the fact that this is working at all in any sense context is good. So I'm going to take that from it. I'm going to say that, you know, the whole thing working at all in any way, the fact that I'm doing it and that we're here is good. Okay. Let's look at the positive. Schizophrenia. Schizophrenia changes how a person thinks and behaves. As we saw in the cognitive triangle, how you think influences how you behave, and that influences how you feel, and that influences how you think. So this is really major as a starting statement, that it influences not only how you think, but also how you behave. And that's going to be a heavy influence on how you feel. So schizophrenia changes these important parts of your ability to be happy. The condition may develop slowly. The first signs can be hard to identify, as they often develop during teenage years. Symptoms such as becoming socially withdrawn or unresponsive, changes in sleeping patterns, can be mistaken for an adolescent phase. People often have episodes of schizophrenia during which their symptoms are particularly severe, followed by periods where they experience few or no symptoms. This is known as acute schizophrenia. Positive and negative symptoms. I'm not sure if everyone describes any of the symptoms as being positive, but what they mean is negative symptoms stop you from doing things, make you more withdrawn, cause you to stay in and not take an interest, whereas so-called positive symptoms change your behaviour. Maybe things appear to you, ideas, concepts, thoughts, sounds, voices. They're called positive because they're a construction, something that's created, something positive in that sense. But I don't think they necessarily feel positive to those that suffer. They may not feel negative to those that suffer either. This is part of the confusion. Hallucinations are where someone sees, hears, smells, tastes, or feels things that do not exist outside their mind. The most common hallucination is hearing voices, but it's really interesting there to note that this also encompasses all the senses, so it can be more than just a sound or a voice. I'm going to stop here as well and just say this straight off early. Schizophrenia does not mean that a person has two personalities, that they are Omar today and Ahmed the next day. It doesn't mean that they are Toby in the morning and Trisha in the evening. That's not that comedic parody of what a schizophrenic is. This two personalities fighting in the same head. That's not what the vast most common forms of schizophrenia are like. It's more like a normal person like you having strange feelings and thoughts, and sometimes hearing or seeing something that to you, the person that's experiencing it, feels absolutely real and is confusing, and that just sort of builds and goes on, and it influences how they behave and the things they believe, and it's confusing. But it's not this stigmatized, typified dual personality madness. And also, a schizophrenic is not inherently violent. It doesn't mean that somebody has this psycho inside them, like Norman Bates, who will... I'm using that as a bad example because of... we'll see later on, but... it doesn't mean that somebody flips into this dual personality and then goes on a murder spree. Schizophrenia is much more nuanced, much more personal, and it subtly changes how a person views the world, how they interact with the world, up to a point where it stops being subtle and becomes more noticeable. It may be that we do some work in the future on our own psyche, how we see the world in Mental Health Monday. We haven't done that yet, but it's worth just saying that your internal model of the world, how you see the world, that's you in there, isn't it? We share with language, and we share with art and culture. We share ideas, and we assume, and we know that we share feelings, that the things you describe that make you feel love, your love is the same love as my love. We share these notions, but I don't see in your head and you don't see in my head. And that's what makes something like schizophrenia scary to people on the outside, scary to people who are experiencing it, and difficult to understand and quantify. Glad that we said that early. It's not early, is it? We've been talking for ages now, but we've said it. We've said it. I don't like all my hair sticking out when I do these. I want to tie it back, but I don't have a hair tie. I like my hood up, but it falls off all the time. We're going on with these hallucinations. Hallucinations are very real to the person experiencing them, even though people around them cannot hear the voices or experience the sensations. Research using brain scanning equipment shows changes in the speech area in the brains of people with schizophrenia when they hear voices. These studies show the experience of hearing voices as a real one, as if the brain mistakes thoughts for real voices. So it's interesting to note that there is something physiologically happening in the brain. Often with mental health disorders, it's difficult for outsiders to understand because they don't have these things happen, so they feel that other people may be making them up. But there's a real physiological interaction in the mind, in the brain, like a real physical thing happening to drive some of these hallucinations, and the person that's experiencing them experiences them as real. They're not making it up. That's the difficulty with a lot of mental health disorders, isn't it? That unless you've got a big spot on your face or a big cast on your arm, people can't see the suffering. Yeah. The voices might describe. Some people describe the voices they hear as friendly and pleasant, but more often they're rude, critical, abusive, or annoying. The voices might describe activities taking place, discuss the hearer's thoughts and behaviour, give instructions, or talk directly to the person. Voices may come from different places, or one place, such as the television. And I do want you to be aware, if you're watching this and thinking about schizophrenia, that of course I am talking to you through the television, through YouTube, but not in the grandiose delusional sense, more in the simple technical sense. I've recorded a video and now you're watching it. It's going to mean a lot, the things we talk about, but I promise you I am not doing any more than recording a video and just putting it up on YouTube for you to watch. I'm not involved in any conspiracy or anything else, that any other idea that might come. And you can discuss these ideas with me in chat if you want. If you're having trouble deciding, that's okay. Delusions. A delusion is a belief held with complete conviction, even though it's based on a mistaken, strange, or unrealistic view. It may affect the way the person behaves. Delusions can begin suddenly or may develop over weeks or months. This is the difficult part, because if you're having a delusional idea build up over months and maybe not discussing it with people, maybe it's something you're thinking yourself quietly, it's something that's troubling you. It can take a long time to build, to crystallise into an idea, to solidify and take root, and by that time it might be difficult to challenge it. So it is important, we're learning early, that you discuss the way you think and feel with other people. And I would suggest that, as we're going to find out through all of this today, this talk about schizophrenia, that part of the important work that you can do to keep yourself grounded is to engage with other people, people who know you, people who care, people who you understand and who understand you, and to be able to cross-check with them, to cross-reference. I've been thinking this, I've been feeling this, I've been hearing this, what are your thoughts? And hopefully they can help you to understand what is part of a delusion and what is grounded in reality. Because I think alone it would be quite difficult. That's okay. We all, even if you're not suffering with schizophrenia, we all sometimes have trouble deciding what's really grounded in our reality and what's a bit of a flight of fancy. So I think that's natural in humanity to want to do that and to need to do that. Some people develop a delusional idea to explain a hallucination they're having. For example, if they've heard voices describing their actions, they may have a delusion that someone's monitoring their actions. So sometimes the hallucination can trigger a further delusion to explain it. That's interesting to know. Someone experiencing a paranoid delusion may believe they're being harassed or persecuted. They may believe they're being chased, followed, watched, plotted against, or poisoned. That could be really scary, couldn't it? Again, influencing how you feel. Often by a family member or friend, and that's going to be difficult because the people that you're going to need to trust, you're going to feel you can't. But understanding that's how this thing will make you feel will give you a lifeline to allow yourself even just the chance of believing the people around you that care about you over the voices in your head. They may believe people on TV or in newspaper articles are communicating messages to them alone, or that there are hidden messages in the colours of cars passing on the street. That leads on to confused thoughts. They talk about psychosis and how you can drift from one idea to the other, and you can even have difficulty reading a newspaper or watching the TV. Misty or hazy thoughts, jumbled or confused. It sounds like the sort of thing that we can all recognise if you're feeling sleepy or tired or you've just woken up. So a kind of mental confusion, a haze, that makes it difficult to chart a course. And then they go on to describe how this can change your behaviour, make you unpredictable, and that people may feel their thoughts are disappearing, that someone's removing them from their mind. Again, scary and difficult things to deal with. The negative symptoms that can often appear several years before somebody has an acute episode are referred to as the prodromal period of schizophrenia, and they appear gradually and slowly get worse. They could include the person becoming more socially withdrawn and increasingly not caring about their appearance and personal hygiene. This is a difficult one as well because it's describing a general malaise of depression, losing interest and motivation in life, lack of concentration, being less likely to initiate conversation and feeling uncomfortable. Something we've all felt at times. But to the schizophrenic, something that it's not just, down days, but part of a slide down a slope to a deeper and more dangerous conclusion. I worry about Asmongold sometimes. Just saying this on stream quickly. I worry about Asmongold. He's coming back to stream soon, so hopefully he'll be alright. But that whole, those negative symptoms, I don't think they're restricted to schizophrenia. I think they're open to all forms of depression. So there's certainly something that are important to take note of. Important to, if you see someone losing interest and motivation in life, if you see someone who's not concentrating and having difficulty in school, or they're quiet and uncomfortable with people, then they're the people that you need to help the most before they slide further down. And talk to them and find out if they're experiencing any of these difficulties. Psychosis is another topic that we're going to talk about with mind, in mind. This is a place that you can find support, mind. I just wanted to say that what we've discovered so far, to make sure that we're addressing our aims to educate and inform, so that we understand and can know what to do if anyone we know suffers with these things, and to describe accurately the onset symptoms so that we can recognise them and offer support, and to reduce stigma. So we've described the symptoms. We know that it's a gradual, slow progression. It can be caused by a crisis event, but we're looking at a bigger picture here. A gradual progression, and it's accompanied by these delusions, these strange ideas which affect the behaviour of the person suffering and the way they interact with the world. We've seen that it can probably lead to some quite dangerous situations, but it's not specifically about somebody becoming violent or splitting their personality in two. It's not that kind of horror story, movie psychosis. It's a much more progressive degeneration into a confusion. That's what psychosis is. Hallucinations, delusions, hearing voices, disorganised thinking and speech. Racing ideas flooded my mind. It seemed as though my mind was disintegrating. My inner life, my unconscious mind, started flooding my consciousness without a break. So there's mind.org. Psychosis, something to look at and think about. We've also got Rethink. There's a lot here about schizophrenia. A lot, which we're going to come to in a minute. We're just going to go back to the video. We're going to do another minute of listening to these people talking.
Times when you might experience work periods of really being unwell, and it can be really, you know, you don't want to go out and you don't want to engage with other people or speak to people, because it's like, but then when you get through that, it's such a relief, because you're like, oh, that was what it was. You know?
I need time out. I need to be by myself. I need to be locked away. No, Brian. I thought it'd be beneficial to lock away, but it's not to benefit. You should be open and social, like, come out of your shell. You should.
Yeah.
It feels so right though to do that, to close off. It feels so good. You think, yeah, I need this, but then.
Yeah, it is very easy to get isolated.
Yeah.
But it's important to have like sort of structure to your day and your week.
That's right, yeah.
Things that you can that you do regularly, so going out and meeting people and keeping up a social life. Is very important, even when you don't feel like it.
That's right, yeah.
And I think there's like two sides to treating schizophrenia.
Okay, we'll talk about medication in a minute, but important that we just pause there and take note of what this chap has said. It's important to keep socialising even when you don't feel like it. We've just had all this COVID, you know, we've had all this difficulty, we're not even allowed to socialise. But it's important to maintain social interactions, to call people, you know. And with schizophrenia in mind, with schizophrenia as our subject today, we've seen that it's sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. I looked at my notes and it just threw me. What I wanted to say was, who suffers and why? Who suffers and why? Everyone and anyone. Is it about violence and paranoia? Not violence, but yes, paranoia. The delusions are real to the people that are suffering with them. Support is coming at the end of this video, but you can check out Mind and the NHS. Oh, you see, this is what's thrown me. We've already talked about this. Understanding crisis is important, but it's equally important to recognise a decline. If you're in crisis, a future video will come talking about crisis and how to handle them. So if you're in crisis right now, this is not much good, but please talk to the Samaritans, check out Mind. I'm going to tell a little bit of a story from when I was at university. And I don't know if this is... I'm just going to talk about my experience with a friend who suffered with psychosis. I'm not going to use any names, of course. But at university, there was a friend of mine who... we shared similar interests, musical interests. So we hung out a bit. And we did similar sort of things. We liked going to the same sort of record shops. And, we were similar kinds of people in a way. And through the next 2 years, we both suffered with our own different kinds of mental health disturbance. I'm not talking about me today, really, as such, but my friend became more withdrawn, definitely became more withdrawn. I could see why, though, because the people that they were living with were very much this party student, drunk, loud, doors slamming. Me and my friend, we were much more laid back, hip hop, different kind of culture. So I could see how they weren't ingratiating. They weren't mixing so easily with the group of people that they were living with. I had a similar feeling about some of the people that that I lived with, but I was fortunate in other ways that I developed some other friendships, and I took my I took myself out onto the streets and into the world. So I did that, whereas my friend, suffering with a similar sort of problem, instead of going out of the house, of the halls of residence, and going away and finding a group somewhere else, they shut the door and stayed in and played their music louder. The decks, DJing and stuff like that, is a very one-person solo focused thing. I play the decks myself, and when me and my friend would hang out, we'd play on these decks, and so we wouldn't do a lot of talking often. So I wasn't really, as I say, I wasn't there I only met this person that year. It was a new friend, so I wasn't there as a great shoulder to cry on, as a good compadre. I didn't help them in the way they needed to be helped. I went out into the world and did other stuff. I still saw them sometimes, but they became more and more reclusive. And they started getting strange ideas. I never became full party to all of the strange ideas, but sometimes they'd discuss something with me and I'd think, that sounds a bit weird. I don't really understand what you're trying to say here. Their personal hygiene suffered. You could tell they were not taking care of themselves as much. And eventually, the bottom line of this was that they were suffering with psychosis and had to leave university and return home and embark on mental health support. And they did. And that's that story. So just a normal person, just in the university halls, just another student like the rest of us, partying and listening to music, who didn't really connect with the group around them so well, so stayed in a bit more. It doesn't take much to start you on that slippy slope. And it may be that schizophrenia is genetic. We will see in a minute, we will see that there are biological and neurological functions at play, but that we don't have the answers completely yet from medical science to pinpoint, and also that people's suffering is in a nuance and a spectrum, so it's not always the same thing for everyone. But some people may be more susceptible to these psychotic breaks. Put everyone in the same situation, they might react differently. So not everyone's going to slide down that slippy slope the same way. But yeah, that's my personal experience of knowing someone who did and seeing it happen. It was easy to miss, I believe. It was easy for everyone else in the flat to just get drunk and ignore until it was too late and they believed there was a problem. But thankfully, things were said and they got help. If only we could have helped them a little more, a little earlier. If only they could have talked. Well, I say I'm not blaming them. I don't think they should have come out of their room and talked to us more. I think it was the people around them who should have just maybe chilled out a little more, at least 1 or 2 days a week, and tried to engage them in a bit more. But maybe they did what they could. Maybe it was a difficult time. No blame, just ideas. I certainly didn't manage to fix their problems back then, and I had my own problems, so there we go. Next, what we wanted to talk about, and I've got the big face up still, haven't I? Yeah, so let's find this over here. I'm just going to YouTube me up a page. Now we're going to hear from somebody who has a similar story to tell. So how do I get this to come here? Web browser. There you go. This is a similar story as the one I just told, but I think it's important we hear it.
My name is Miles. My friends call me Milo. I felt I needed to do a video selfie because I do have some things I'd like to address. Now,
This is, of course, from Mind. Again, just to point that out, it's from the mental health charity. It's produced by them and available on their YouTube channel. So this isn't someone's personal, private vlog that we're secretly dipping into. They know it's on the internet.
I've been using cannabis since I was about 14, and I started abusing it since I was 18 or 19. And on occasions I would get quite paranoid, but I felt that I could handle it, you know, because it wasn't too bad. But then,
so I'm just going to pause it a couple of times as we look and talk. Important here that we note that drugs can trigger psychotic events. They certainly work in the same way as the psychotic illness does. So being high, you know, is fun, and we're not here to discuss drugs on Twitch, of course. That's against the terms of service. But being high can, you know, the whole point of it in some ways is to change the way your mind is working. So it can do that in dangerous ways, obviously. So there's a connection there, this young person has been saying. But also it's important to note that he said that he didn't feel that he was going to talk about it. You know, he was feeling these feelings of mental stress, of paranoia, and his decision was that he had to cope with it himself without talking about it, to keep it in. And that's not a good start on that slippery slope.
I became delusional. I became paranoid to use my phone. I became paranoid to leave my house. And I could actually see myself telling people, even though I never, all through my illness, which is paranoid schizophrenia. I had the delusion in my head that these gangs and governments were gonna come and kill me.
Which would have been incredibly scary, wouldn't it? If you believe that the government itself is out to get you, then where do you turn? The National Health Service, of course, feels like it's run by the government. It's not really, but you know, I can see why these delusions would feed into that idea and that they weren't there to help you. Yeah, it would be really scary, wouldn't it? And very difficult to try and find a way out of. But important to note that he started with paranoias that he just didn't want to talk about, and they grew. So
I ran, but I had the feeling that they'd track me down, so I started to attempt suicide.
So it's important to note as well that suicide is raised here as a discussion point. We're going to talk about it briefly. It's not a good option. It's not a good option. It feels like an option because it's an easy out. And as this guy described, he wanted to run. Whether you're scared or whether you're suffering, wanting to not have to feel that, and wanting to take the easy out. Sometimes that can be attractive against the other options, but it's better, believe me, it's better to suffer through the storm and fight your way to the rainbow at the end. You know, it might not seem it at the time, and this is not the Crisis Point podcast. You know, we're going to talk about what to do in Crisis Point another time, but so I'm not going to linger and labour at this point too much, but I'm not going to linger on and labour this point too much, but it is important to note that schizophrenia increases people's risk of suicide, and I believe that that's because it's an escape. It's an easy escape. I don't say easy, easily. You know, it's not easy, but it's easier than facing these things, and it sometimes feels easier to those who are suffering. So we'll discuss that in the future, but it's an issue.
I did a whole manner of unacceptable behaviour or actions, and I was arrested on the spot because
He goes on to say that he jumped out of a nightclub window and that people didn't believe that he was suffering with mental illness, that they thought he was trying to cover over his crimes, but he didn't think that was something that would seem sensible.
I find that people really don't want to talk because of other people. It's not for ourselves that we don't want to talk. A lot of us do want to talk. It's just other people don't want to talk, because when I was discussing it with my friends, it was always a quick conversation, like, that's it, alright, we don't need to talk about this no more.
So that's really important to finish on from this man's testimony, is that he said that he didn't want to talk because of other people. It's not that he didn't want to talk, it's that other people didn't give him the space, the time, the room, the two-way conversation to talk about it. People didn't ask, people didn't care, and they didn't want to know. So it's important that we talk. We're here talking. That's important.
There's like the medication and going to see a psychiatrist, but there's also the talking side of it, talking therapies. And I was very lucky to get referred to a cognitive behaviour therapy, which I found very useful in developing like coping strategies and learning to live with my illness and to manage my illness. I used to be very paranoid, so I'd be very worried, even just like walking down the streets or whatever. And I think the people were always talking about me, that kind of thing. And the cognitive behaviour therapy really helped me to deal with that.
So these people are now going to discuss options for therapy. It's something that we're going to just move on to in a second, but I just wanted to make a further couple of points. The boy that we talked to before, let's just bring him back up. Milo. Can you hear that? I thought I could hear a cat meowing. Maybe it's a television on somewhere. Look, we're going to carry on. Oh, that would be interesting, wouldn't it, if I started having delusions while I was doing this. Finding this interesting, but heavy today. I don't know why. I told you I was a bit nervous at the start. Not been having the ideal run of things with the bit rate, have we? But Milo was talking, and I wanted to make a point that these days people have disruptive lifestyles, and that we're human animals. That is too much meowing. I'm going to have to check. You'll just have to bear with me while I leave the stream for 2 minutes just to check. What? Go on. Yeah, you're having bites on my land. Come on, trying to do stream. Come on. Come on, Holmes. I've run him off. Come on. Come on. I'm just stream. I can't be out there fighting cats. Come on. I apologise. There was a cat fight outside. I had to just chase a neighbouring cat away. Let me please check the sound outside. I had to just chase a neighbouring cat away. Okay, so I chased the neighbouring cat away. That's been fine. We can carry on. Yeah, I wanted to say that for Milo, he described drugs as being a trigger. But I think it's also important to recognise that these days, young people, all of us, we live in a world that's hyper-saturated with super stimulating imagery, sounds, film, media on your phone. All the internet is on your phone. The ideas that are presented to you in the news, the fears, the high concepts, the big companies and their workings, international politics, down to molecular biology, and all these huge amounts of information, this data. It's all there for you to consume. We travel fast, we talk fast, we eat fast. Computing is fast. It's a fast-paced, high information world and landscape that we're living in, that we've created for ourselves. We seem to be able to handle it quite well. I don't know, do we? Is that a statement of fact? Do we handle it well? An example I'd give is driving. I've always found it amazing that we are trusted in the vast majority, pretty much all of us. We won't have Milo's face here, we'll have my face for the big face action for this sort of chat. We are trusted. I'm just going to check the chat as well, because chat is notorious for not working, isn't it? And I bet it's been trying to work. Yeah, boom. Unbelievable. It's been on screen the whole time, so I'm really sorry. Share what you know. And Kelvin, Kelvin's one of my legends. But I'm really sorry, share what you know. It is terribly rude for me to not respond to you in chat. It's terribly rude. And I didn't know, because it just doesn't... And then I click it and boom, it's all up. Don't know why it does that. Don't know. And I don't know how long it's been doing that for. So I will read this chat and address it in a second. I'm going to finish my point about hypersensitivity and our culture. So as humans, an animal, an animal, we are trusted to drive cars at 80 miles an hour, flying around, going around the corners, taking the bends. We're just trusted to do that and to cognitively be able to cope. And it's amazing that we can. It's amazing that someone on a motorbike can deal with all this information and steer and control. And it's amazing that someone in a car can listen to the radio and change the channel at the same time as driving this thing at 90 miles an hour. It's amazing to me. We handle things so well as a human animal. Things that we weren't evolved for, things that we weren't designed for. But truly, we also handle these things carelessly sometimes, and sometimes the power of these things flies out from our grasp. You can have a car accident, or something as silly and simple as reversing into your own driveway can cause an accident, but it can be dangerous and fast as well. So that's my driving analogy. In terms of the world, all this information, all these ideas, all this stuff going into our heads, all at the same time, all mixing around, causing worries, causing fast response emotions, whether they be fight or flight. That can happen on social media, on Twitch, on Twitter. You can feel that you just have to, I have to now quickly respond to this, and that's happening quickly, and I have to say it there, and this video is new, and I have to get in there first, and you know, there's this fast-paced processing demand, and do we handle it well? I don't know. Maybe it contributes to schizophrenia in some individuals. Maybe it contributes to general psychosis, malaise in all of us in some way. I'm not here to answer that question. I'm just here to raise it as an important point. So let's see what you said. Share what you know. It's lovely to have someone new in chat. It's fantastic to be here with our regular friends. And I'm really pleased to see someone. They're probably gone now because I didn't read their chat. But the gradual progression is due to the increasing complexity capability that is added as the brain develops over a 25-year period. A 10-year-old won't have the same symptoms as a 20-year-old. The 20-year-old has more advanced features than the 10-year-old. Hasn't grown yet. Yeah, that's really interesting, isn't it? Really interesting. It's about development. And it's interesting to note that when we first started talking about this, that we said that it happens often as a person grows in that aspect from a young person to an adult. It can develop at that time, schizophrenia. So, yeah, really interesting point. And I'm really glad that I managed to finally find it and read it. So I'm sorry about chat. It's a bit of a funny one today, isn't it? A bit of a funny one. It's going a bit wrong. But we are not giving up. We are not giving up because we've heard from Milo. I'm just going to reiterate our now I've lost all my notes. I'm just going to reiterate our aims, which were to educate and inform in general, so that if you know someone who's suffering with this, or can now recognise someone suffering with this, that you know what's happening and you feel that you can help. If you yourself are suffering with these things, that you recognise some of these symptoms, to describe accurately the onset, like a sneeze, so we can recognise and offer support, to understand and reduce stigma. So I hope that we are doing that as well, that if someone said to you they felt that they were suffering with these sort of things, that you wouldn't instantly be afraid, to offer the right next step support. And that's what we're going to come on to. Okay. Where to find help? It's absolutely imperative that let's bring up. Let's bring up the web browser again. There we go. There's Milo. We don't want Milo anymore. We want the NHS. We've been looking at some of these symptoms on the website. NHS. That stands for National Health Service. And in the UK, it might be different in your country, but in the UK, I would love to be able to. I'm going to get a second monitor. It's been suggested to me to get a second monitor, and it's a really good suggestion, and it's something that I'm going to do because it's going to help us immensely. But first of all, in the UK, we have the NHS, National Health Service. It's free at the point of contact, so you can go to the NHS, to your doctor, and say, I've got a problem. It's mental. I feel these things. I'm worried about this and that. And they can sign you up to the mental health support services. There are problems. It's been underfunded. The government, over the last however many years, the Tory Conservative, I'm not getting political, I'm just stating the facts here, that the Conservative government do not fund the NHS properly. So the mental health service is a bare bones service, and it may take you a long time to get to sit in a room and talk about your problems in that sort of therapy context. That may take time. So it's important, if you're suffering or you're worried, that you engage with this service early, that you get in there as soon as you can, because it's going to take some time before they offer you what you require. And if you get to crisis point and then you engage, it's going to be really difficult. They're not going to be able to deal with you in the way you need to be helped at crisis point, because you are new to them and they've got this system they have to follow through. So my best advice is, even if you don't want to go to their appointments and you don't want to follow it up, start the ball rolling. Call your doctor, send them an email, say the problem you're having and that you'd like to talk to a mental health people service. That will start the process. And then in the future, you can change your mind, whatever. But if you choose you want to go on with this in the future, you will be logged and started. So that's important. So talk to your doctor. In the short term, they're going to offer you some sort of medication. It's different for everyone. It's going to be scary, especially if you're worried about the motivations of the people, if you're having delusions. But it's worth something to try. It's worth following the advice of your doctor and trying to trust them, to try and see if other people around you agree with their ideas. I don't know how best to convince someone who's suffering from a delusion to accept the help of a doctor. But certainly this is why I believe it's best to be having these conversations with your GP early, when you first notice any symptoms of stress or struggle, to notify them that these are things that you are worried about, because if it gets late, it becomes harder. We're now going to go back to the people talking, and we're going to listen to their experiences. And hopefully we're going to get some bits, some bit rate to aid us so that you can see as well as hear. What a janky stream, eh? What a janky stream.
It's actually really good, that one, because it's one of those things that when I've had cognitive behavioural therapy, even when I'm having sort of psychosis, I can sort of talk myself out of it, or almost get insight into why I'm feeling that way. So
a little while before, the medication was right for me. I changed 3 or 4 times.
I'm just going to pause there. The lady and the man before were describing cognitive behavioural therapy as being something that really helped them. Now, the work we've done on this stream over the last few weeks has involved cognitive behavioural therapy. I haven't really called it that. I've mentioned it a couple of times, but haven't tried to dress it up in big words. But it's important to note that the simple ideas that we've been utilising to improve our mental health, the worry tree, worry time, the thinking about things in terms of probability and chance and how often they happen, the working out the probabilities, these sort of processes, the mindfulness, that's all part of cognitive. It's fully dropped now, has it? Are you still here? You can still hear me. The probability. Yeah, that's all part of cognitive behavioural therapy. So what this lady and this man who have suffered with schizophrenia have said is that it's really helped them, and it's something powerful. And it's really interesting to note that it's something powerful enough to deal with schizophrenia, and gentle enough that we can discuss it on stream, and you can put it to use in your daily life without feeling like someone's crowbarring you into therapy. So cognitive behavioural therapy is a really good thing, and I can't sing its praises enough in this context. And this guy says that they changed his medication. We're going to hear more about this now.
Olanzapine, risperidone, all sorts of medication. But I'm on good medication now, so that's good.
And the side effects of the medication can be really tough.
Yeah. Like with me, I'm a very athletic, sporty person, but it gave me like man boobs. I was bodybuilding at the time, and it spoiled my shape. Like, oh no, I've got it under control now. But that's one of the symptoms I really didn't enjoy that.
It's weird the different effects that drugs have, completely different effects on different people, because I think it was aripiprazole that I was put on because I got really fat on olanzapine, and so they put me on this, but I just, and that was just awful for me. I was terrified for about 2 months, and my psychiatrist didn't go on leave, so that I was just in a bad place and put on temazepam, so I just slept through it.
I had the same thing with haloperidol. It sort of just made me weep the whole time. I was like...
Even me, like, before I was on the clozapine I'm on now, I used to be in the depot. And I was like, I can't keep getting these injections in my bottom.
No, it hurts.
What was happening was I was going for my depot, right? Going home, sleeping for 2 weeks, getting up again, depot. It was depot bed, depot bed, depot bed. I thought, nah, I can't live like this. This has got to stop.
No.
It kept me very well, but it was like depot then bed, depot then bed. So I was like, oh no.
Good, is it?
It's just, and sleeping the whole time. You know, if you're asleep the whole time with medication, you're not getting out, you're not seeing your friends. You might not be actually having the same symptoms, but you're just, if you're asleep all the time, you know, what's the point?
So some really interesting ideas have been raised there. And we're going to talk about them. And if you're watching and you're having trouble watching,
But you're just...
then thank you for persisting, because I'm going to persist. We're going to talk about it. The images might not be so great, but the stuff we're talking about will be. So we've still got the core of it going on here. We've still got the core. So they just described a lot of different medications, lots of different words, names, side effects. Didn't all sound positive. But what's important to note is that through that investigation, through that experimentation, they've all landed on a course or a treatment that has worked for them and has allowed them to come together and have that conversation. So initially, your medication may make you sleepy. It may make you feel unhappy. It may make you put on weight. Maybe that's not the right medication for you. And maybe your GP can help you to fine-tune these things to find the right medication for you. Certainly, these political ideas about big pharma and taking tablets and stuff, you know, there are some interesting and important points there, which we're not going to go over and discuss here really now. But it's important to also note that some of these medications were simply designed to help people, and some people have got issues that can be aided with the right medication. It's just a fact. It's not about politics and selling medicine. It might be that you can find the right medication through your GP. And as these people showed, that there's lots of different kinds of people, there's lots of different kinds of medication. And so it's not that the first one you try will definitely fix everything for you, but it's worth trying and it's worth finding the right one. That's, I think, an important point that we could take from that together. I mean, another way of looking at it would be to say, oh, all these medications have caused these bad effects, maybe I shouldn't touch them. But that would be the negative, wouldn't it? That would be the withdrawing. Maybe that wouldn't be the right way to approach this. And certainly the doctors are not going to do anything that's going to be damaging or dangerous to you. That's definitely going to be the case. They're going to do what's best for you. So it's difficult because of the nature of delusions. What we've seen is that it's important to offer ways out of that hole. So we're going to talk about support now, because we're talking about this final aspect of how to help. I'm trying to help you to talk to the doctor and things like that. But in general, what if you know someone who's suffering with this, or you yourself are suffering? It's difficult because of the nature of delusions. So be careful. Take things carefully. Take things slowly. Take things gently with people who you think are suffering with this. What we've seen is that it's important to offer ways out of that hole. So to not shut away the weirdo, but to reach out and encourage social activity when someone appears to be withdrawing. If you treat them as a weirdo or something like that, then you're actually making it worse for them. You're causing them to suffer more with these delusions and problems. So really, it's most important that we don't do that we don't shut people away or exclude them because we feel they're different or weird, that we encourage them to be part of, in my example earlier, the group was too loud, too noisy, too exuberant for the individual. So maybe sometimes the group can find times where they can be a bit quieter to bringing those individuals in. Yeah, you know, maybe it's about thinking about that sometimes. But we need to reach out and to encourage social activity, to offer support without prescribing advice. And we're not butting heads, but we're trying to shine light. That's a good way of looking at it, I think. Understanding the delusions and finding a way to help the person suffering recognise them, so together we can chart a course to better mental health that will include regular social activities, a routine, a way of keeping psychosis in check mentally, cognitive behavioural therapy, and physically, the drugs. Now the biology might be interesting. Just check what we're doing now, 9:30. I've got to walk the dog in half an hour, and we're drawing to a close now. But I'm just going to quickly show two more things. I mean, there's not much point because you can't see them. The biology. I've lost the page anyway with the biology on. So we're going to call that part 2, the biology. We'll call that part 2. Yeah, and I've got another video from another person who's managing their condition. And we'll call that part 2 as well. Up to now, I'll tell you what, we've done well. So thank you. Thank you. I'm going to come back with part 2 tomorrow, and we're going to try and fix the bitrate issues. But I really appreciate you being here, and I really appreciate all your support. As I've said earlier in this episode, it's a bit of a special one. I've got over my anxiety now from talking to you for so long, and I'm looking forward to our next episode.